this is a little different when it comes to trades. The Yankees can outwardly say we're not interested in a certain player when it comes to trades. It doesn't hurt the player's value or anything like that. So the Yankees can admit that kind of stuff, and yet it still seems like it's different when it gets reported live.
You are Locked On Yankees, your daily New York Yankees podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Yankees, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. I'm Stacey Gotsulias. He's Brian McKeon. We'd like to thank you for making Locked On Yankees your first listen every day. In case you don't know us, I've been hosting the show since 2018. Brian has been with me since the beginning of the 2024 season. And prior to doing this show, Brian was with WFAN, and I wrote for a whole bunch of places. Just Google my name. You'll find articles that I've written. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So download the app today. On today's show, Hall of Fame ballots are coming out, and already there's only been 7 revealed, and 2 of them are doozies. We're going to tell you about that. Dave Roberts said something extremely interesting on a show that Kevin Hart and Kenan Thompson have that I had no idea was a show. We'll talk about that in segment 2. But first, ESPN put out an article ranking the top 25 trade candidates for 25-26 because, next month is 2026. And we're going to talk about a few of the guys we think could be possibilities for the Yankees.
Yeah, anything, just full disclosure, I'm a big fan of Jeff Passan. And anything under the tutelage of, like my SAT word of the day again that I used, this is a couple days in a row now that I've used the big SAT word to start our show. Anything under the tutelage of Jeff Passan, I like to take a very good viewpoint in when it comes to ESPN. Now, he didn't write this specific article, but everything that really goes through ESPN goes through Jeff Passan pretty much when it comes to baseball. So they listed the players that have the top potential to be traded this offseason before that. But basically what they're including the offseason in is up until the July trade deadline. So that's what they're including the cutoff here. Some guys have more of a chance to be traded in the offseason. Some guys have more of a chance to be traded within the season up until the trade deadline. They gave a percentage chance this guy gets moved, and they added the teams that the players that the player would be most interested in, and the teams that would be most interested in that player. So I only included players that the Yankees are supposedly interested in. Now, if you go to this article online, you can find all over ESPN and all that kind of thing. You can view other players that they see are potential trade candidates, and a couple of those players I was very curious to see the Yankees were not involved in and not looking towards. Now, obviously, these guys are not just pulling these teams out of the wind of who they think can get traded to. There's obviously sources involved here. So the Yankees not being involved with some of the players in this list, pretty curious to me. I didn't really understand that very much. And then some of the players I thought were very obvious, and some of the players I thought, there's no way the Yankees are going after this guy. But lo and behold, the Yankees are involved on the list. And I don't think this has as much to do with the free agent conversation that we've had. Now, we've been privy to say, Stacey, the Yankees seem to be involved, air quotes I'm using if you're listening in audio form. They're involved in every free agent, right? And that's we've blamed that on the agents because the agents want it to be known that the Yankees are involved in this player because it drives the price point up, and the Yankees can't say they're not involved, so therefore the price point stays up. This is a little different when it comes to trades. The Yankees can outwardly say we're not interested in a certain player when it comes to trades. It doesn't hurt the player's value or anything like that. So the Yankees can admit that kind of stuff, and yet it still seems like it's different when it gets reported live. So this is a little strange, but let's get into it. The first player, guy that I think that we all expect to kind of be moved, but the trade percentage is very low according to ESPN, Tarik Skubal from the Detroit Tigers. It does seem like the Tigers should have a lot of motivation to move him. The odds of them giving him a 300, 350 by the time he's a free agent, $400+ billion contract, I'd say slim to none. I don't picture the Tigers giving out a deal like that. They're not cheap per se as a franchise, but they've never given out a contract like that before. Yeah. So I do wonder if Tarik Skubal's going to get that from them. And Stacey, if you want to stay competitive, the best way to do that is to move him and get a lot of great pieces back for him, which you will be able to do now. Right. They do put the Yankees on that list. They do give it a 10% chance he gets moved. I found both the Yankees being on that list and the percentage he gets moved to be awfully low when it comes to Tarik Skubal.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think of what the Yankees would have to give up a lot to get Tarik Skubal. And I don't know what the Tigers do in this situation, especially with the lockout coming up.
Well, yeah, and again, they're not a cheap team, but I don't see them giving out that $400+ million deal. Whenever there's big free agents out there, you don't hear their name involved in guys like that get to that price point. Their name is never involved, and they've had the money to spend over the last few years, so why would they all of a sudden get involved here? Now, I know.
Plus, they make the playoffs, right? Like, they were, they had an interesting path to the playoffs, and things went a little awry, but, they made it in
there now 2 year in a row.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to think there's an upside here, and I think if you're you can get a lot back for him, and if you get a 5-piece prospect package back, and 2 of them become major leaguers, that's probably worth it. So you have to look at things in that reference. Just have full disclosure from a Yankee perspective, I don't see the Yankees going after him heavily. I just think it's going to cost too much out of their farm, and there's other options to make yourself better out there. So I don't see them going after him. Next on the list, this is a name I can see moved. I don't know if it's a Yankee move, but I can see this name moved. McKenzie Gore. That name might sound familiar to your guys. Now, it doesn't involve the Yankees Juan Soto trade, but when Juan Soto was first moved from the Nationals to the Padres, McKenzie Gore was one of the top pieces in that deal going back to Washington. He was the 3rd overall pick in the 2017 draft. They're giving it a 30% chance that he gets moved. That's a pretty significantly high move. There is not a very deep starting pitching market out there right now. And I think that's what makes the packages back for starting pitchers. It's going to elevate them even more. They're asking for a ton apparently back from McKenzie Gore. He also has 2 years of control, including this year back. I don't think this is a Yankee move per se, but I could see him getting moved. And again, I think because the free agent package is low for starting pitchers all together out there, Stacey, I think there's a good chance the package is going to be pretty steep for a guy like McKenzie Gore, who I would say, I wouldn't call it an ace. He's got number 2 stuff, I would say. It's a good pitcher, but number 2 level stuff. But I think it's going to be one of those situations where someone's going to give up a little too much for him. And someone that misses out on other pieces is going to give up a little too much for him.
Yeah, because we've been saying all along that out of all the positions that are available this free agent class, it's really like the relief pitching market is.
Yeah, and the outfielders.
Yeah, and the outfielders.
Yeah. So that's really all you're seeing. And speaking of outfielders, 2 names that I think everyone thinks the Yankees are involved in, and one ESPN thinks they have no involvement in, which I think is crazy. If you remember a few weeks ago, and we've been loving the weekly guests that we've had on. When we go down to 3 days a week in 2 weeks, we're going to have a guest on every week still. So you guys will get to hear a different perspective from someone in the Yankee universe. And we just spoke to John Jastrzemski about, 3-4 weeks ago at this point, who is in love with Stephen Kwan. Wants Stephen Kwan on the Yankees. And ESPN basically shot JJ's dreams down to no end. They think the Yankees have no interest in Stephen Kwan, not looking after him. And I'd say this, Stacey, if the Yankees, again, like we said before, ESPN is not just pulling things out of thin air and taking wild guesses. Right. There's a legitimacy to their sources. If they think there's pretty much a 0% chance they're getting Stephen Kwan, I think that's the case.
Yeah.
Like, they're not getting that from nowhere. So I don't know how they're going to change their mind from being interested to not interested at all. My thought is they've poked around that camp, and either the price was too high or they're just not interested at this point. But then speaking of outfielders, the new name that has seemingly gone around all of baseball, Brendan Donovan from the Cardinals. Everyone's interested in him. And this is why I don't know if the Yankees get him to this point. 2 years of control. The Cardinals are looking to rebuild. The scary part is Chaim Bloom took over control in St. Louis. And if you remember his days with the Rays, he doesn't lose trades, Stacey. He never loses trades. So I'd be pretty fearful of trading with a guy like this. He's trying to rebuild the Cardinals specifically from a youth standpoint, from the minor leagues up. And while they don't want to trade Brendan Donovan, he's got a guy that has to be moved for them to get better. You saw him making the Sonny Gray trade. They're going to empty out before they get better. I think it's going to be a lot of teams involved in him. There's about a 40% chance he gets moved, which is a high percentage chance. I think he gets moved. I don't know if it's the Yankees, because I think the price package they're going to ask for him, Chaim Bloom, again, and I'd be scared of making a move with Chaim Bloom because he doesn't lose these kind of trades, Stacey. He always gets what he wants in these packages. So I don't know about you, but Brendan Donovan, are you still in the Stephen Kwan train?
I mean, I wouldn't mind either one of them, but I think I'd prefer Kwan. I've
Yeah,
seen more of Kwan, if that makes sense.
I'd agree with you. I just, if they're giving it like a 0% chance the Yankees are interested, I gotta think they've spoken to someone that's well informed with the Yankees, and they've gotten a pretty good indication the Yankees are just not interested for whatever reason.
Right.
The last one I gotta run through really quickly because this name kind of stunned me, and this was on the list of the Yankees. Edward Cabrera from the Marlins. Now he's a right-handed pitcher. You guys might not be that informed of who he is, and I honestly wouldn't blame you. There's a 40% chance he gets moved, and apparently the Yankees are aggressively in on him. He turns 28 this year. He has 3 years of control left. That might be an indication of why they're in on him. Here's the thing. He's very heavy on a two-seamer fastball combination. He's developing a slider as we speak. He throws both fastballs at around 97 miles an hour, and his location is apparently impeccable. Apparently he has excellent location. He just puts the ball in the wrong spot a lot of the time. So if that makes sense, it might not. The location's great. He can spot the ball perfectly. He just doesn't have command when he needs to. And it's been a problem for him throughout his career. And there's a lot of thought out there that a guy like Matt Blake can fix that. That is a perfect passion project for Matt Blake. The location's good. The velocity is good. Stuff is good. He just doesn't put it where it needs to go in the right moment. He's not good at knowing where to go with the pitches and where to put them and stuff. If he can develop that and develop a sense for the game and get put behind there with a really good catcher, that's a guy with a really high upside the Yankees are probably very interested in, that they seem to be. So an under-the-radar kind of guy, but a guy I could see the Yankees going after, especially, again, these guys you can put in the lab with Matt Blake tend to work out more often than not.
Right. That doesn't seem like a bad move to me.
That's not far-fetched, no. And I think it's innings eater, too. Like, if that's a kind of project kind of thing they look at, eats innings, he's good for the first 2 months, he's going to make the roster out of spring training. I don't hate that at all. And again, there's high upside, 3 years of control. If he doesn't make the playoff roster this year, you got time, baby. You got time for this kind of guy like this. So I would let that kind of ease in and let Matt Blake get his hands on him and get in the video room and start working on things. That could be a sneaky, really good addition.
All right, everydayers, the people who listen to us every single day, we love you all. We appreciate you all. Mark your calendar for Monday, December 8th. We've got an exciting announcement that you won't want to miss, so stay tuned. Be here for it. And don't forget, if you're not an everydayer, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button on our videos, hit the notification so you know when our videos go up. You can listen to us on every podcasting platform available. You can also follow us on Locked On Yankees. Thanks again for people who are following us. We're creeping up on 500 followers on Instagram, so we appreciate that. Coming up next, Dave Roberts said what?
Guys, I'm more excited than ever. The World Cup is coming back to North America for the first time since 1994. And with 48 teams for the first time ever, it's going to be massive. But let's be honest, getting tickets is usually the hardest part. That's why the Gametime app comes in clutch, finally giving fans a real advantage when it comes to snagging seats. With Gametime, you can track price drops in real time, get alerts with great seats when they open up, buy tickets from the moment they hit the app. It puts the power back in your fans, and it makes going to the World Cup a realistic possibility instead of impossible. The seat view feature is also a game changer. You can literally see what the pitch looks like from your exact seat before you buy. You guys like me putting in my little soccer lingo right there, calling it the pitch, right? We're calling it that all summer, damn it, because it is the World Cup in America. And here's what you got to do. Take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets. Every match, every concert, every event, no matter what it is, take advantage with Gametime. Download the Gametime app today, create an account, and use code Locked On MLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, download the app, make an account, and use code Locked On MLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Gametime. Thank you guys for making Locked On Yankees your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. Guys, Fan Mail Friday will be live on Friday, and your deadline is noon. Get to that YouTube channel, get to that post feature, and make sure you lock in your questions so Stacey can get to them in time. Make them whatever you want. We are in the doldrums of the offseason right now, so you can ask us whatever we want. We will likely answer them. We both also have pets. So if you guys have pet questions, I'd love to answer. I'm very experienced with Chocolate Labs. Stacey's very experienced with cats, so we can give you questions on that too. If you're maybe getting a puppy this winter, I'll be very helpful with that as well. We discussed this when we did our episode, I believe, what was it, on Monday at the start of the week? I could be wrong. Of when we discussed the potential lockout coming. It was Monday, I believe, in segment 2. And we wanted to go over what the implications were going into this lockout and who was going to be on what side of things. Right. And I reported on the Monday episode that, owners are very much not in favor of a salary cap. They want to be able to cap what you can pay the top players. And the players are obviously not in favor of that because they want the salaries to go up and up and up. And the more you create these bidding wars when guys like Shohei Ohtani or Aaron Judge or Garrett Cole become available in the open market, is the more that these high-priced teams are going to be willing to pay. And that's why Shohei Ohtani's AAV is upwards of $70 million a year. And that's why Juan Soto's is in the 50s. And Aaron Judge's is 40. And Garrett Cole's is 37. And I can go on and on about the top AAVs in the entire league. Well, it makes sense why owners want to get rid of that. Why owners want the top AAVs to be as low as humanly possible, because it allows them to pay less money. If there's a cap of $200 million, they can just sit there and say, listen, Aaron Judge, we can only pay you $20 million because that's what the cap allows us to do. It allows them to save as much money as possible. I understand guys that are attached to organizations kind of being puppets publicly to say certain things to kind of get the narrative to be pushed a certain way for certain things to happen. I didn't expect those guys to be former players. And there were comments made earlier today by Dave Roberts, the manager of the Los Angeles Dodgers. And if you're not informed, and if you're younger than me listening to this show, hi, Malachi. Dave Roberts used to play baseball. So coming from a player's perspective, an ex-player perspective, I find this very, very weird. And I know the manager is very attached to the organization. I know the manager has sort of been accused of being a puppet for the Dodgers organization many times before. I find it really weird that Dave Roberts basically came out publicly and said he's in favor of the salary cap earlier yesterday.
Yeah, so he appeared on Amazon Prime's Good Sports on Tuesday night alongside hosts Kevin Hart and Kenan Thompson. I didn't even know that was a thing. I had no idea. So he said on the show that he'd be in favor of Major League Baseball adopting a salary cap, which is, as you said, a key goal the owners have as they are set to negotiate a new collective bargaining agreement with the MLB Players Association. But Roberts added, with the caveat that it comes with a floor also for spending.
I'm for that. I'm for
the floor. Yeah.
And I think the players are in favor of that too. I think everyone's in favor of a floor. And let's be honest, the NBA has worked with the floor for years. And that is why the NBA, you see some of these wild contracts coming out of the NBA sometimes, Stacey, where you're like, how did Nicholas Batum get $42 million a year? We've seen that all the time in the NBA. And that's why that's how it happens. Bad teams give max deals to bad players to get the salary, to reach the salary floor. But you know what? It gets guys paid. So it doesn't really matter at that point. Baseball needs something like that because it would get the Pittsburgh Pirates involved in a top tier negotiation. So that is something we need. I do think though, a guy that is supposed to be for the players as a former player, taking the owner's side in something like this, that's awfully fishy, right? And I think it's a big concern when one of the top spenders has this opinion.
Well, this is exactly what he said. He said, sure, you know what? I'm all right with that. I think the NBA has done a nice job of revenue sharing with the players and the owners. But if you're going to kind of suppress spending at the top, I think you have to raise the floor to make those bottom feeders spend money too. I thought bottom feeder was an interesting word to use for the lower teams because there is a negative connotation to bottom feeder. And I just find that interesting. But here are some numbers for you, because this is coming from the Athletic article where these quotes appear. And this is what the paragraph says. I love this. Roberts, a three-time World Series champion manager, oversaw a roster this past season that was the most expensive in baseball history at a $415 million competitive balance tax figure, according to Cott's contracts. The offseason before that, the Dodgers committed more than $1.4 billion in salaries, including a $700 million commitment to Shohei Ohtani and a $325 million commitment to Yoshinobu Yamamoto, both of which were records. Ohtani, the biggest guarantee at the time time to a player, Yamamoto the most ever to a pitcher. The Dodgers' luxury tax bill of $103 million after 2024 represented a record, one they will surely smash for their 2025 payroll.
And by the way, they don't regret that spending.
No.
They're owned by a huge conglomerate of money. That organization prints money. They have no problem paying that luxury tax because you know what? Even though they paid 105 million, 103 million, you just said, in a luxury tax figure, they probably made more of that already in World Series celebrations and World Series merchandise since then. So what the heck do they care? And the Yamamoto deal, well worth it. The Ohtani deal, well worth it. You saw what that money results in. So I don't think they regret that. I think their manager going public and saying that he's in favor of a salary cap is concerning when you see they spent $1.4 billion the offseason prior, and now their manager is out there publicly preaching for a salary cap.
Wasn't the new Yankee Stadium $1.4 billion, or was it $1.8 billion?
I think it was $1.8 billion.
Close.
Yankee Stadium.
Okay.
Yeah.
But close.
But think about that. This is a team that spent on their offseason transactions the price of a new stadium, and now they're coming forward in preference with a salary cap. Something doesn't add up. That's a little weird, no? Because the organization in the sport that's taken the most advantage of a salary cap not existing is the Los Angeles Dodgers. They've won 3 championships in this window of them spending gobs of money without any control. So why would they be in favor of a salary cap? And their owner doesn't come out publicly and speak. Their GM doesn't come out and publicly and speak, but the manager certainly does. And he seems to be a voice box for the organization. And you bet your bottom these quotes came from Dodger brass. This was not coming from Dave Roberts, because I can't imagine a world where a player who is a former player who is supposed to be a player's manager is going to come public in favor of a salary cap, and especially to a guy who manages Shohei Ohtani, who's making $700 million. Shohei Ohtani doesn't sign that deal in a salary cap world, Stacey.
Right. Well, yeah.
Neither does Yoshinobu Yamamoto. They don't have the roster they have with a salary cap era. So why would he be in favor of that?
Yeah.
Something doesn't add up. Something's not coming together here, which means those quotes come directly from Dodger brass, and that's fed directly from the top. And say what you will, I think Dave Roberts is one of those managers that absolutely is fed what to do and what lineup to have. And credit to him, he's won 3 World Series as a manager. He deserves that credit. He's going to go into the Hall of Fame one day. Give him all the showers that he wants. He still gets instruction from the top of the organization. If that's the deal that he wanted to sign, good for him. He still is a 3-time World Series champion. But those quotes do not come from him. They can't. And why would they come from an ex-player? It has to come from Dodger brass, which still to me makes no sense. So this is why there's such a rife here going into the CBA negotiation, Stacey, because the players are so against it, and the top spending, we've confirmed the Los Angeles Dodgers top spender in the sport, and Hal Steinbrenner top 5, top 3 spender in the sport, are both in favor of a salary cap. That's a dangerous game you're playing when there's not a single player in favor of it. So beware, guys. Beware.
Yeah. All right, coming up, Hall of Fame ballots are trickling in, and some of them are interesting, for lack of a better word. We'll be talking about them next.
I love football Sundays, but NFL season is getting closer and closer to an end. So sad, but the Sundays move so fast from the 1 o'clock slate to the 4 o'clock slate. Everything stays so exciting when I get involved on FanDuel. And with FanDuel, you can place bets as the action is unfolding. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight, every moment. Live betting is the best feature when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, defenses tighten up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel can let you jump in on the moment. A line that I'm looking into that I really love tonight, later on, Islanders. They play the Colorado Avalanche. You come in to visit UBS. I'll be in the building, and I'll be betting the Colorado Avalanche wearing a Colorado Avalanche jersey, because you all know my Rangers affinity that I have. I like that parlayed with Texas Tech on Saturday night. You'll get it for even money, and you'll get it on FanDuel for even money. You could also get involved. Live spreads, money lines. They adjust instantly throughout these games. Player props update as guys heat up. You can also bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. Keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. I can't wait for this weekend between the bowl games, between the NFL Sunday. It is going to be madness. And if you want to get involved right now and be in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game that moves fast, and so can you. Stacey, this is a point of contention every single offseason, and I love getting into this debate. Just to remind you guys of our feelings towards the Hall of Fame, I don't believe that we should be looking at the Hall of Fame as the Hall of Very Good. I am one of those people, and this might be an old man opinion out of me, and I'm very sorry. The Hall of Fame should be reserved for the greatest players to ever play the sport, not a guy who was pretty good in the 80s. No, a guy who was great and defined that chapter of history in the sport. Just want to leave that there for a second before we get into this next topic.
Okay, so if you don't know, if you're not as online as I am, because I live online, Ryan Thibodeau has been doing a Hall of Fame tracker for years, and now he's gotten basically all the writers involved in this. So they will submit their ballot, obviously, to the Hall of Fame, but they will also send Ryan their picks. So far, 7 ballots are in. Everything's trickling in slowly, but 7 ballots are in. And I'm going to go from most recent to the first one. We're going to go backwards because one of them that was released on Wednesday, December 3rd, is one of the funniest ones I've seen in the years that I've kept track of Hall of Fame ballots. So, an anonymous voter picked David Wright, and that was the only vote he put on the ballot.
Can I just say this too?
And of course, I'm saying it's a he. I'm assuming it's a he.
Yeah, I don't think Evan Roberts has a vote, so let's rule that one out. I just want to say this publicly. If you're going to make a stupid choice like that, and David Wright, really fine player, like really good baseball player. I mean that in like all due respect. Like if he stays healthy and the spinal stenosis doesn't get to him,
right,
he could have been a Hall of Famer.
Yeah,
it would have been like a debate, but he could have been a Hall of Famer. Regardless, David Wright was forced to retire because of injuries way before consideration for the Hall of Fame. If you're going to put an asinine a circle in the dot or check mark next to David Wright's name like that, and you're going to embarrass the Hall of Fame voting process and make a mockery out of it, have the guts to put your name down next to it.
Right.
Don't go down as unanimous.
Right. The next one comes from Michael McGarry. He's a second-time voter. He chose Beltran, Cole Hamels, Felix Hernandez, Andrew Jones, Dustin Pedroia, Andy Pettitte, Manny Ramirez, A-Rod, Jimmy Rollins, and Chase Utley.
Yeah, so the rules have been updated. To vote for the Baseball Hall of Fame, you need to be a credited Baseball Writers of America writer for at least 10 years of service. That gives you qualification to vote. Some of these voters come from cities where they watch these players their entire career or their entire childhood and tend to have an extreme bias towards certain guys getting into the Hall of Fame. That's also a point of contention that really bothers me. I like Cole Hamels a lot. I think he's a really solid pitcher. Is Cole Hamels a Hall of Famer? Like, stop.
I think that was his first vote, actually.
I mean, like, that's the problem that I have here is, like, you have an affinity towards a guy that you were watching when you were a child, and you seem to go with Cole Hamels and I don't know if this guy does have a Cole Hamels affinity, but where are you getting to where you're considering Cole Hamels a Hall of Famer?
Right. Well, it's interesting. Okay, so the next one is from Barry Bloom. He released his ballot on Forbes.com. He voted for Beltran, A-Rod, Pettitte, Rollins, and Utley.
Love him. But where is Andy Pettitte in the Hall of Fame?
Right.
I'm sorry. Like, and Andy Pettitte's full of really clutch Yankee moments through the dynasty. Like, I hope you guys don't take this as me discrediting Andy Pettitte's career. Like he debatably
if there was a Hall of Fame for just playoff performances,
absolutely,
Andy Pettitte would make it.
1,000%. But Andy Pettitte's not a Hall of Famer. He's not a Hall of Fame pitcher. To put him in the Hall of Fame, clearly this guy doesn't care about steroids. Barry Bloom, he doesn't care about steroids.
Well, a bunch of people have gotten to the point where they don't care because Bud Selig got in, David Ortiz got in, and at this point, some people are like, well, why are we keeping these other guys out?
Yeah, but then that's the point then. If we're going to do that, if we're going to let David Ortiz in, and you're going to let Bud Selig, who let these guys do steroids, was very, very well where they were doing steroids.
Until someone called him out on it, and then all of a sudden it was bad.
So if you're going to let those guys in, you better be letting A-Rod in, and you better be letting Bonds in, and all these guys that were doing steroids that are Hall of Famers. Because, I mean, it's just getting ridiculous at this point. You think Beltran?
I think he might get in. He was.
Yeah,
he wasn't that far last year. I think
he might be a Hall of Famer. Like he actually might be a Hall of Famer. But Jimmy Rollins, I mean, stop. Chase Utley, stop.
So Adam Rubin, Mets writer. Beltran, Jones, Ramirez, A-Rod, Rollins, Utley, Wright. Of course, he puts David Wright in there. But I find the Rollins and Utley choice interesting. But also, you cover the Mets, you watch the Phillies a lot. So,
well, that's why I get the Rollins choice. But Chase Utley, I think Mets fans hate him more as a Dodger than a Philly.
Yeah,
because of the injury that he had on Tejada in that National League divisional series. So they might hate him more just for that series. That was the championship series. Jimmy Rollins is not a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, well.
He won one MVP. I mean, stop it. Also, Adam Jones.
No, Andrew
Jones, great fielder, but he's not close to a Hall of Famer. Like awesome fielder, he's not a Hall of Famer. All
right, next one. Lynn Henning out of Detroit voted for Beltran and A-Rod.
That's a fine ballot. That's fine. That's all that's available. Good.
Okay, next one. Who was the second guy to turn in his ballot? William Ladson. It's his first Hall of Fame vote. He picked Beltran, Mark Burley, Felix, Jones, and Pettit.
Mark Burley. You know what I mean? Like, my reaction? Like, come on. It's the Hall of Fame, Stacey.
Yeah, well, this
go ahead.
This next one, which was the first one that was released, really bothers me. Okay, right, so this is Jorge Morajon. He was the first guy to send his ballot into the tracker. He voted for Beltran, fine, Andrew Jones, Pettit, Francisco Rodriguez, and Omar Vizquel. I will tell you why I have a problem with this.
Omar Vizquel
is just... There's so many things wrong with this. He has off the field issues and he isn't a Hall of Famer, but that's okay. At all. K-Rod has domestic violence incidents that happened while he was a player. Andrew Jones also has stuff that happened while he was a player. Andy Pettit was linked to steroids. Beltran was linked to the biggest cheating scandal in baseball. So when this first ballot came out,
he don't care about anything, this guy.
I thought to myself, well, if you don't care about those things, then why aren't you putting A-Rod, Manny Ramirez along with Pettit?
So Jorge Morajon has thrown out the morals clause completely. He doesn't believe in a morality clause whatsoever. So if that's the train that he's on, then put in everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, what are we doing? Like, put in everybody. But the names that he's pulling here.
And apparently Omar Vizquel calls people to try and...
I've heard about that, yeah.
Yeah, like Keith Law even said that I refuse to talk to him.
Which is so wrong. Like,
yeah,
Stacey, if you need to call writers to plead your case for why
then you're not a Hall of Famer.
Newsflash, then you're not a Hall of Famer.
No.
Yeah, like, so let's... No. I want to mention one thing, too. Have you been there to Cooperstown? I know your brother has. Have you been there?
No.
Yeah. So when you walk in, there's basically like placards of like what this place is, and really overall, like there is like the canyon room where they have all the players' plaques up and everything, but the whole complex is a giant museum.
Mm-hmm.
And basically what it says when you walk in is this is a museum dedicated to telling the history and story of baseball in America. And I believe that a guy getting into the Hall of Fame means that if their plaque is going to be immortalized forever in that canyon, and you're going to see their face and their name and their basic statistics and the years they were active in that room forever, that means that you cannot tell the story of Major League Baseball without that guy's name being mentioned. Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Alex Rodriguez, Mariano Rivera. Alex Rodriguez is a Hall of Famer. I don't care what anyone says. You cannot tell the story of Major League Baseball without some of those guys. I can definitively 1,000% tell the story of Major League Baseball without including Mark Burley's name. Like, let's chill with the voting. And again, it is the Hall of Fame, not the Hall of... He was pretty good for a 5-year stretch.
Right. And speaking of ballots, it came out on Wednesday that in the New York City mayoral race, Aaron Judge received 11 votes in the election. obviously write-in votes. I think Jalen Brunson got a few also, like 28 of them. And then Pete Alonso got 3.
Yeah. So clearly it's a Yankee town.
Yes.
How do you feel
Well, actually,
about
it's a Knicks town. Then it's a
Knicks,
Yankees town.
No, it is a Knicks town over everything. When Knicks
Yeah.
are good, it's a Knicks town.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this? Do you think it's not taking your vote seriously enough, or do you think it's fun and goofy enough to be allowed in society?
I mean, I don't know. It doesn't
I don't
bother
know if
me.
Aaron Judge would run a great New York City.
No.
Like, he can hit dingers,
Right.
but like I don't know if I need my mayor to be hitting 400-foot home runs.
Right. Yeah.
Just win a World Series. Like I don't need to be a mayor too. Just win a World Series.
If you win the World Series, it'll be like your mayor. So
yeah. Like, I don't know if Eric Adams can hit in the month of October. And I used to not know if Aaron Judge could. Now I'm confident he can. Let's move this forward.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you for making Locked On Yankees your first listen every day. For your second listen, find Locked On MLB, where there is no offseason. Sully keeps you up to date on contract negotiations, rumors, and everything you need to be the most informed MLB fan out there. Find Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So that'll do it for this edition of Locked On Yankees. I'm Stacey Gotsulias.
And I'm Brian McKeon. We'll catch you guys on Friday for Fan Mail Friday.